and he became a Christian before he was Zoroastrian, right? And then after becoming a Christian, he travels even further until he reaches Mecca, and then he meets Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he becomes a Muslim and accepts Islam. So Salman goes on this journey where he migrates through the earth, just as Muhammad migrated through the heavens in order that he may reach God in creation, just like Muhammad reached God himself above. And Salman spent so much time with Muhammad, imitating Muhammad, learning from Muhammad, becoming enlightened by Muhammad, increasing his light inside of him and bathing in the veils of light and lifting the characteristics and the veils of darkness by doing what the Prophet told him to do and living in the divine community that were around the Prophet.
I mean, to me, it seems like the level of faith that each individual has to do with his readiness with the Imam of his time, recognizing him, obeying him, as you said, migrating to him. So it seems like the believers...
It's beyond migration. It's not just migrating. You can identify who the Imam is and you could still not be saved. That's what I'm saying. Hence Jesus said, not everybody who calls me master, master. You can migrate to the Imam and you can still not be saved. Hence Judas Iscariot. He also, left everything and he migrated towards Jesus and was around him, and he still wasn't saved. Okay?
Yes.
So how do we attain salvation? Is because there has to be something that Judas didn't do that we have to do. And what is it that Judas didn't do? Clearly, Judas didn't get rid of his darknesses. He did not bathe himself in the light. He still had inside of him soldiers of darkness, pride, envy. He had in him deceit. He had in him doubt. He didn't get rid of this stuff. Simon Peter, other disciples, they had more success in getting rid of these soldiers of the darkness. And so, like Salman, like Simon Peter, these guys, they managed to have an opening in the veil of the Imam, whereby the Imam's, Jesus' light penetrated into Simon Peter. The light of Muhammad penetrated into Salman, just like the light of God penetrated on the night journey into Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They managed to peer into the veil of the Imam of the time. Because the Imam of the time, at the end of the day, he is a veil. The Imam of the time is the veil of God in creation. So whoever manages to peer through the veil of God or become one with the veil of God, right? Then they essentially become one with God himself. And because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the light of God now shone into him and he became one with the veil, all those who are disciples of Muhammad and become one with Muhammad, they're by proxy becoming one with the veil and becoming in a state of enlightenment and bathing in the light of God and becoming one with God, so to speak.
So an individual basically is not able to mirror God or know God at all through his own self and through his own ambitions of gathering knowledge, basically.
No, it's impossible. You can only know to a certain degree. A person who wants to know God can only, you're talking now outside of the realm of so this individual, he's not a prophet or messenger. And this individual is a person whom you're saying wants to know God, right? Outside of knowing the Imam of the time. For example, going and just meditating his way to enlightenment, or just in his own room through thinking and contemplation reaches a state of enlightenment. That's not possible.
Yeah.
Except to the extent that God's light already exists in this world. So that's why you have really good people, right? Because these really good people that are out there, and you can certainly become a really good person by seeing the individual's born and he sees in the world examples of goodness and examples of evil. The individual whom sees these examples in nature or through their interactions with other human beings and chooses to be kind and to be merciful and to do good in their life, they can know God as much as God's light is in the world and as much as they have seen from that light. Okay?
Yes.
But that will never be sufficient for them to have reached a state of completion. Okay? I go over this in The Goal of the Wise, and many prophets and messengers that have come to this world, they've spoken about this idea, and even the Quran speaks about it. And the Buddha, alayhi salam, who also is one of the 124,000 prophets and messengers that were sent to the world, he spoke about it, and others as well, such as Krishna, etc. There's this idea that the soul is on a journey. And he has to reach this kind of level of knowledge of God in order that he qualifies to abide in the higher realms, also known as paradise or heaven or nirvana or whatever it is that you would like to refer to it as, and not land in the lower dimensions of hell, Jahannam, these places of darknesses, the abyss. A soul, according to the teachings of these prophets and messengers and imams that have come before, cannot reach that level of spiritual enlightenment that's required for them to ascend through one lifetime. It's very difficult to do so. So they need many lifetimes on earth in order that these characteristics and traits of the light be perfected, that the person's alchemical transformation of his own soul be complete. Just like a student who's born, right? And he goes to school. It's not sufficient for them to go to elementary school and then quit. Right? There's still higher education, which is required and necessary for this individual to graduate and end up in college. Nobody can just go to elementary school and after 6th grade, sign up for university. It's not possible. Right. You can only sign up for university, right? If you pass elementary school and junior high and also high school, and you receive a certificate. Not just that you go through these classes and then you fail them. No, you have to go through them and receive from these classes an adequate amount of knowledge, and you have to be tested in the subjects which you took, and you have to demonstrate that you have passed them. That's what life is. It's a school whereby people are going through these different scenarios and situations that we're placed in, and we have to demonstrate in this school that we are learning and that we've obtained sufficient knowledge, right? And that we can pass these subjects or these courses that we're learning, right? Learning how to be more godlike. Can you imagine going through elementary school or junior high or high school without a teacher?
Impossible.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. The same concept when it comes to the perfection of the spirit. It is impossible to get through school without a teacher. It's impossible to perfect your soul without an imam of the time, because you need that person who will teach you and walk with you and guide your hand while you are trying to graduate the earthly plane.
So without the teacher, without the imam, at the end of our life, it's the death of ignorance.
Exactly. So what now is the meaning of the hadith? Whoever dies and doesn't know their imam of their time has died the death of ignorance. Now it means that you have to identify the imam. You have to go to the imam. You have to become a student of the imam. Right? And through going there and being a student of the imam and and being around the Imam and a companion of him and a disciple of his, just like those who were around Jesus, just like those who were around Muhammad, just like the Israelites who were around Moses, just like all of the disciples of so many of those 124,000 prophets and messengers, right? That dedicated their life to being students and disciples, of Socrates or Pythagoras or Aristotle or Plato or Siddhartha or Krishna or. Why did they do that? Because they knew that this world is a temporary one. And they knew that, just like Jesus said, it's not wise to build a house on a beach or on the water. Nobody does that, because it's going to collapse, it's going to sink, it's going to be destroyed. We also cannot place all of our ambitions and hopes in a world that is fleeting. And so we have to prepare for where it is that we're going to go next. Just like the student who's going through school, he has to, really pay attention in class and seek to learn from the teacher as much as he can while he's in high school, because after that, once high school's done, what grades he has is what he's going to take with him, and that's what's going to determine too where he's going to land in university, if he's going to even qualify to enter into university, or if he's going to end up in a community college, or if he's going to end up qualified to go to get a grant, to go to a higher university, right? Or a better university that, or his grades are what's going to limit him in terms of what it is that he can even become. Here in the United Kingdom, for example, if you don't do good in mathematics in high school, you can't do certain jobs. Like, for example, you can't be a police officer, right? So your knowledge or lack thereof limits the individual on those pursuits or that which he can do in life afterwards. So the amount of knowledge that you gather in this physical realm, what is it doing? It's determining your entire life, right? And the same thing with spirituality. If you don't invest in it, then you're probably going to end up somewhere in some realm, in some dimension, in some world, in some incarnation that is not going to be too pleasant for you. A lot of people think that Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam is going to come, and immediately what they must do is they just must pledge allegiance to him, and then he's going to lead a military uprising and establish a state. That's not going to happen. The establishment of the divine just state only takes place after, like Ahmed Hassan said, it starts with you, O believers, after individuals dedicated themselves enough to reach the Imam of the time, and they opened a veil. The 313 opened between them and the Imam a veil whereby his light shines into them, and they remove from themselves all of these traits of hypocrisy and disbelief. Then and only then will God allow the Imam and the 313 companions and perhaps the 10,000 that are after that to enjoy a divine just state. And the narrations are very clear upon that test after test after test, sifting after sifting happens so that all of those, right, whom in their hearts is hypocrisy may be sifted out or fall or go away. Those, the narrations of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam state, whom we would be afraid of them entering into the divine just state and having a share in it and ultimately destroying it. right? Once again. So those people who enter into the promised land or enter into the divine just state have to be people who are true believers, who have been disciplined and reached a certain state of enlightenment, just like God prevented the Israelites who were unqualified from entering the promised land because of all of the evil that they had committed and their lack of faith